Well, hello everyone, and welcome in to the Six Screens Tele Network, where we get another awesome night up here in Boston, and we've got some really good programming coming up here tonight. Well, my name's Rick Farron, as I say. My wife Susan is with me here tonight, and we have a program coming in from South Carolina. The program is called Dick and Constance Borghi, along with Joe, expose the Watchtower. So they'll be talking tonight about the Watchtower organization, what they feel about it, and don't go anywhere. Listen to this program. Now, this is an interactive program. The telephone number will be scrolling across the bottom. I'll put that up. So if you want to dial in and talk to these three former Jehovah's Witnesses, well, you can do that from anywhere in the world. You can either dial in on a telephone line or you can dial in via StreamYard. Now, how you do it in StreamYard is you open up the YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube or even on Facebook, what you do is you open up the description box. And then in the description box will be a link. Then just hit the link. Now, that'll bring you backstage. When you hit the link, that doesn't mean you're on with us right away. You'll be backstage. And then what we'll do, I'll bring you on, and you can talk either without video or you can talk with video. It's up to you. You can decide. Some people rather not come on video, just go on audio. But if you want to go on the full Monty, so to speak, do it all. Go big or go home, as they say. But I don't really mean that. I want you to stay with us. Just stay on. Just stay on with us. No matter how you come in, the Borghies and Joe will like it. So let's bring them on right now and talk to them for a second or two. Then they can start their program. We're going to add them to the stage. Well, there they are. My goodness, you guys are looking wide awake and full of energy, I'll tell you.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, anyways, anything on the agenda tonight? What are you guys going to be talking about?
Going to be talking about what's all a buzz on YouTube. The Watchtower is out there plugging one particular thought: obey, obey, obey. These are in the directions that they're telling you to obey come straight from Jehovah God. And if you don't obey them, you're probably going to die at Armageddon. That's what they're trying to sell to everybody. But you know what? We're too wise for that. They've been doing this for a long, long time. You have one governing body member saying that, you know, we're not infallible and we're not inspired. But you got to obey us anyway because your life depends upon it. If you have any...
That's just a brief. He
Kind-
just wants the introduction, Rich.
Oh,
Okay.
Connie just told me just the introduction.
Yeah, just the
I'm
introduction. That's
going
good.
into a monologue.
Well, we get an idea. I know you get those engines revved up, Dick, and you're ready to
Okay.
put the pedal to the metal, but you just hold on there with us. Now, look at it. Here's what we're going to do. Again, the phone number is going to be put up. We'll be scrolling across the bottom. There'll also be that link put into YouTube in the next few minutes. But I wanted to make one more announcement before we cut you guys loose and have your program. If Nicole's listening in, Nicole, I'm working on the moderator for you. That should be ready for JW World News. So if you have to answer any questions, they'll send you an email or whatever. But it looks like I just press a button. So you'll be coming on, Nicole. So I didn't forget about you. We're still trying to get this process, but it looks like it's going to go through. So you hang on. It should be ready for JW World News. Thank you, Nicole. Okay, so anyways, I'll cut you guys loose, as we say, and Susan and I will bow out, and we'll be still listening here intently. Thank you very much, all three of you, for coming
Well,
on
thank
tonight.
you very much, Rick.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. Well, welcome everybody. I did a little bit of the monologue, but basically, the Watchtower is trying to tell its members, listen, you've got to be listening to us. You know, everything that we tell you is from Jehovah, and everything that we tell you is going to come true because we have the truth and nobody else has the truth. This is what they want. And there's a reason they want this obedience. I don't know what that is, but it's going to be big, and it's going to be something that's that they've been working on for quite a while. And the governing body and their lawyers have put all this together. And what I believe is they're trying to get every last penny out of the Jehovah's Witnesses that they possibly can. Anytime the Watchtower does something, there's a monetary consideration with it. That's how that's their modus operandi. They've been doing that for a century and a half. It's all about the money. That's why they have $22 billion. Or was it $1 trillion? Billion dollars in Ireland and all over the place, hidden. You'll never know the exact number because nobody knows that. But if you have any guesses as to what they're planning on doing, certainly would like to know. I'd like to tell you what I think is going to happen. I don't know. I'm certainly not inspired, and I'm not a prophet, so is my best guess. I know the Watchtower pretty well, being in it, for 20 years and being on 6 screens as a moderator for 20 years. I have a pretty good idea. I think they want all the Jehovah's Witnesses to cash in everything they can, sell their houses, sell their cars, stocks, everything they can get their hands on, and send the money to the Watchtower. It kind of be like when Moses was in the desert. Our Heavenly Father was just telling him what to do when he was telling everybody else. They didn't need a governing body. But one thing they did do is they pooled all their resources, all their gold, boiled it down, and made a golden calf out of it. Mm. I think the Watchtower is going to be doing something like that. They're going to tell you, go out in the Mojave Desert somewhere, and Jehovah miraculously is going to take care of you just before Armageddon. Now, I can't base this on anything, just the way I think. But this is the way I think. And I was hoping you could hit *6 and tell me the way that you think. Because the Watchtower is definitely crashing, folks. It's definitely going down. It can't stand up under the weight of all the false prophecies, the child abuse, the no blood transfusions, and now you can take your own blood and blood transfusions, breaking up families, United Nations scandals, doctrine changes every year, and much more. People are getting wise. There's too many people on YouTube. There's too many people talking. The Watchtower knows it's crashing. It's hemorrhaging members. It's hemorrhaging money. Speaking of money, why are they going after money in Scandinavian countries, Sweden and Denmark and all these places, when the governments are supposed to be evil and being controlled by Satan the devil? And now they're kneeling down in front of the governments saying, please give me money, or please give us money. We need it. Boy, oh boy. People are waking up to this, folks. They're waking up to it.
Well, the internet certainly is helping with that, Rich.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. I don't know how this organization can keep afloat. Elders are leaving in droves. They see it. And now what do? To replace those elders? They're appointing young men on an ego trip in their 20s to be elders. I mean, an elder is like a guy in his 60s or 70s or 80s. That's an elder, not some kid 20 years old just starting to shave. I mean, it's crazy. That's why this organization is going down.
Can I share something about
Please
Italy?
do.
Well, we were just watching on YouTube, John Legend was saying this, or Ledger, that over in Italy always had been a very productive country for Jehovah's Witnesses for their own personal growth. And there was an elder who's really, basically, he's a PIMO. He's been a PIMO for some time. But he just basically had expressed that he can really see the changes big time. And he's in a real quandary. He'd like to leave. He really would. The situation is he doesn't want to lose his wife or his family. But he was saying, this elder, he says, apparently he's been an elder for some time. And he said, he's sick and tired of seeing all the other elders, probably in his congregation and other congregations, who are just on a total power trip. And, and their personalities clash. And he's also seen how the elders are getting older and some of them are dying. And the younger generation is just not coming in to replace. They're not interested in becoming ministerial servants or elders. They're not, because they see what's going on the internet. So it's a real quandary. That's one issue, he said. He said that there are some that, very few that are stepping up, but he said that's because they basically want their parents' approval. So, that's a big issue there. But it's like in Italy, it's just dying. The organization is dying. The other thing he said is, let's see, what was the other thought? He said that he's just really frustrated with the whole thing, that people are just not interested. Oh, that's what it was, about field service. Nobody's interested in going out in field service anymore, period. That's it. Knocking on doors. They might want to be at the carts where they really don't have to do anything, but they certainly are not interested in going door to door knocking like back in our days and having to do all the hard work and have a presentation and all that sort of stuff. So that was very, very interesting. And he would really, really like to leave. But, like I say, he's staying in because of his wife and his children. And going back to the going out in field service, this was the other issue, he said. He said it's only basically the elders and their wives that are going out field service door to door. That's it. Nobody else is interested, period. So, at one time, Italy used to be very, very productive. It's Catholic. It still is a Catholic country. And a lot of witnesses came in and converted a lot of those Catholics to JWs. But it's really, really changing. And he'd like to leave. But, that's his own personal dilemma and choice of what he's struggling through right now. Like I say, he doesn't want to lose his wife and he doesn't want to lose his family. So he's caught between a rock and a hard place with this whole thing, because he knows he can see all the false prophecies. He can see all the changes. He can see all the people that died for not taking any blood transfusions. And now Watchtower's changed that. And he has just seen a lot, and he's really, really fed up. It's not like he just wants to step down as an elder. He wants to leave the organization. He's just trying to figure out how he can do that.
Yeah, it's difficult. If you're an elder and you leave and you tell people why you leave, you're going to be disfellowshipped because they're going to say that you are causing divisions or that you're an apostate. And if you're one of the former 144,000 who got thrown under the bus, they'll call you an evil slave. That's how they do it. There's stuff that's been around for 20 years or better. And you would think that when the JWs hear about it, that they would leave in droves, such as United Nations.
Or 1975.
Or 1975, 1914.
That was huge.
The 144,000 are no longer the top dogs. It's now the governing body. They're the anointed, not the 144,000, the one they claim to be. That's a doctrinal change. But you know what? There's so much of this accumulating that I would have thought as soon as a Jehovah's Witness heard that the governing body had joined as an NGO, the United Nations, that there'll be a mass exodus from the JWs. But it really didn't happen. There was a mass exodus, I think 1922, when Armageddon didn't come, and certainly 1975 when Armageddon didn't come. And the doctrinal changes around 1914 and 607 BCE. All that stuff has been proven to be false. But right now, it seems like it's all gelling and it's all coming together.
Brick by brick, huh?
Yeah.
It's like it's
and people are going like, oh no, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. And they're leaving. And you know what? The Watchtower is showing itself to be such a fraud, and so after every penny they can get their hands on, they're not giving out a cent.
Right.
They don't care about people. They really don't.
You have a dilemma, right? Excuse me. You have a dilemma, and the dilemma is the governing body members say we're not infallible, or what's the other one? We're not inspired, right?
Inspired well, if they're not inspired,
Right. We don't have God's Holy Spirit.
well, they're not connected to God if they're not inspired, right?
Right. So that's one issue, and we've all heard that. Then on the other side of the coin, then they say, you must be completely obedient and loyal to Jehovah. So, what they do is they really talk out of both sides of their mouth, right? I mean, if you really just stop and think about it, why would you be, first of all, why would you be obedient to anyone who claims to be of a Christian organization, and they're coming out and actually saying that we are not inspired? We are not inspired, and we do make mistakes. That's what they're saying. So if that's the case, they're not inspired with God's Holy Spirit, then why are you going to be loyal to, they say it's Jehovah, but it's really the organization.
Exactly.
They always say, you need to be obedient, loyal to Jehovah. No, it's not obedience to Jehovah. God is not interested in organized religion. He's interested in a personal relationship with you through Jesus Christ, with his Holy Spirit, and studying his word and living your life according to his principles. But he's not interested in organized religion. So, I think a lot of these witnesses are trying to, figure this all out. They're seeing so many changes. They're scratching their head thinking, what in the heck is going on? Now the brothers can have beards. Now the sisters, can wear pants. Now we don't need to even really record our time. Remember how important that was? Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, that was so critical back in the day. Now you just check off a box. And, there are just so many changes, like you say, brick by brick by brick. Mm-hmm. You can see how the tower is really crumbling.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Joe, you had a thought?
My thought too. Mm-hmm. I really believe the reason they're pushing this obey the governing body, because your life depends on it. Mm-hmm. They see the data. Mm-hmm. They see that they're not growing anymore.
Right.
They're just not growing. The young people aren't interested.
No.
In fact, I believe that elder, he's still an elder from Italy, said mm-hmm. he would give public talks, and all he would do is see kids playing with their phones. They're not interested.
Or even the parents too, looking down at the phone.
The parents too. Mm-hmm. And so I think the governing body, they're shaking in their boots because they see the decline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's just not like one meeting. That's meeting after meeting. Yeah. People are physically there, but they're mentally checked out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Connie mentioned about just checking a box now mm-hmm. that you were not in field service. Sorry. There's a lot to that. Actually, they've changed that, but they still want you to go out in service. Mm-hmm. And I can remember all the years I was in, I would always get that phone call from an elder. How many hours of field service did you get in this month, right? Mm-hmm. If I didn't turn in my and they were religious on that. They called you up and asked you, right? Has an elder ever called you up and say, Brother Borghi, or whatever, Sister Borghi, how many hours do you have in prayer? Mm-hmm. What's your prayer life like? Mm-hmm. Is that like 10 minutes before you get into bed, or is that just 5 minutes before you eat a meal? Mm-hmm. What's your prayer? Mm-hmm. Have you ever been called up and asked about that?
Mm-hmm. Never,
because prayer doesn't put any money in
their coffers.
In the coffers.
Right.
But getting new people in, when new people come in, they bring money into it. Mm-hmm. And it's really not the money that they bring in initially. Mm-hmm. It's when they die and they leave their $500,000 house to the Watchtower. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's where they get their money, or their life insurance policies, mm-hmm. or all that to the Watchtower. Mm-hmm. That's where they get their money. That's how they get $22 billion, but they can't give a couple of grand to a Bethelite who worked there for 40 years, and they told him he's no longer needed and go back to his former congregation, who never even heard of the guy because he hadn't been around for 40 years.
Right.
And they'll take care of you. No, they won't.
No, they won't.
They won't. They didn't care. He's going to die. He's already given 40 years. The heck with him.
Well, and we were all trained with the Theocratic Ministry School to be salespeople. That was the bottom line.
Yeah.
We were trained as salespeople. If you've ever been in sales or marketing in corporate America, that's what it's all about. You have sales, it's all about making your quota every single month. And if you don't, you're in very serious trouble because the reason why sales is so important is because it's all about profit. And that's how corporate America works. Watchtower is no different. We weren't paid. We were all volunteers, that's for sure. But it was a matter of bringing people in so people could get baptized, so they could buy more literature, so they could indoctrinate more people and could make more contributions. And like you say, down the road, if they had property or jewelry or 401s or anything, donate it to the organization. That's the name of Watchtower's game. That's how they got to be billionaires, 22 billion on everyone, all of our backs and everybody else.
And they are so sick with greed that they can't help
Bethelites,
particularly Bethelites, but even people that pioneered for 40 years and can't do it any longer. Here's $5,000 or $6,000, get yourself a nice apartment or buy yourself a trailer or something.
Or what about, like Jesus said, take care of the widows and orphans?
Yeah.
You never hear that. You never, ever hear that.
So
Rich?
greedy. Yeah.
Remember you were saying something once about the food bank? Maybe you can say something about that.
When COVID hit.
Or just whenever. You were trying to do something to help. They came to your door.
Oh, yeah.
Tell people about that story.
Yeah, years ago, I lived almost right across the street from the Kingdom Hall. And some woman with a couple of kids came knocking on the Kingdom Hall door looking for a donation. She needed money for diapers and milk. So one of the neighbors said, well, they're not meeting right now, but the guy behind me, he's one of those Jehovah's Witnesses.
Go across the street.
Go talk to him.
Which was you.
Which was me. Yeah. So they knocked on the door. She knocked on the door with the kids and said she needed diapers. And so I gave her 20. It was like giving somebody a 50 today, but it was a 20. And I think she told somebody else. And somebody else knocked on the door a month or two later.
Yeah.
It was small. It was $10 for groceries or something. And I worked a lot of overtime and I had good money. So I gave it to him. So my wife told one of the elders' wives, and you know how in the Watchtower everything just goes around. Everybody talks about everybody and what they're doing. And I was called into the back room and they said, you made a donation to these people. Well, probably that they smoke and drink and that's why they need money or they can't work. And, it made me feel good. It made me feel good.
Yeah.
But anyway, they told me that if you really want to help somebody, you place a Watchtower Awake magazine with them or start a Bible study with them.
That really pays the bills.
If your heart tells you donate inside the Kingdom Hall, no place else.
Rich, it really doesn't even pay for the diapers or the formula that those women, were asking for. And when you shared that story, some time ago, I was really shocked because I know when I was in, you never saw, even to this day, you never saw any food banks. You never saw any of that. Hospitals, Watchtower doesn't do anything for anybody. And yet that's one thing I really love is I love working at the food banks. I love serving people who are impoverished or having a difficult time. Not everybody's a drug addict. Not everybody's an alcoholic. No. Life can be very, very difficult for a lot of people, even working families. when I was in food stamps and a GR worker, there were people who were working and they could not make their expenses as far as, food for their family. So of course they came in for food stamps.
At the hospital I worked at, every department had a box. And, it's nothing to bring a couple cans of whether green beans or stew, and you put it in that box.
Right, Joe.
And this was not even a religious organization. It was a hospital.
Right.
And then they would give it to what was called Caring Ministries, and they helped the homeless and less fortunate. And you would think the so-called true organization would set the standard for that, but they're all about greed and money.
Yeah.
That's shocking that they counseled you to give Watchtower an Awake. I mean, what are you going to do with that?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I remember, I'm originally from San Francisco Bay Area, and on let's see, it's on Mission Street or Market Street. I'm trying to think. Anyway, it's Mission Street, I think. Anyway, up on a hill, there's a church. It's a red church. It's a very big church, and it's called Casa de Barro, which is House of Clay, and you can't miss it. But anyway, I would go with a coworker and a friend of mine at the time, and it was a Saturday morning. We'd have to be there by 8, and then from 9 o'clock till 12, they had it so well organized, Joe, that we literally every Saturday in San Francisco fed 500 people. There was a whole line all the way out, and boy, it was just like a U shape, and we had everything all there. And people came around, and we had 500 people in 3 hours. And that's San Francisco, right? We're not talking about the ghetto or, somewhere where, there's not food. There's plenty of food in San Francisco. But the point is that not everybody can afford the high cost of living and being able to keep up with, their food.
Do you think, and this is just something I'm going to throw out, maybe somebody wants to add to this when they comment. Do you think a lot of witnesses feel kind of a guilt because they're told, they're part of the only true religion that is blessed by God, and yet
they don't do anything for anyone.
They don't do anything other than propaganda.
Right.
Do you think there are a lot of witnesses that's running through their mind?
I think if they have a conscience, and I think if they're loving and very compassionate people and they're genuine, I would say yes. How could you not? Joe? How can you not? I mean, and like Rich says, you got a mother that comes up with 3 kids. First of all, let me tell you, when I worked in welfare, I had people that were just practically in tears when they came when they came into my office to interview me. I had to verify all their verifications, where they live, their income, everything. And I cannot tell you how many people came up to me and said, it took everything, absolutely everything I had to walk through those doors to come in and see you, because I'm so ashamed that I have to come and ask for help in welfare. And I said, well, let me tell you, I'm not here to judge you. Okay. I know life can be very, very hard, but I am here to help you. You just need to give me all the verifications and everything that I need, which is a lot. And if for some reason you're not eligible because of the income, you can always go to the food banks, and you don't have to have any kind of verification of your income or anything of that nature. So, it's what life is. Life is very hard, especially when you get those single mothers that have a couple kids and, their husband took off and, they're trying to struggle on their own. That's tough. Or you have a husband and wife. The husband had, major heart surgery. Now they can't afford, the mortgage on the house, and everything's spiraling out of control. And oh my God. So, you can't be judgmental. Not everybody's a slug, staying home, drinking soda pop, watching the soap operas because they don't want to work and they're on food stamps.
We were talking about a little earlier about that woman that knocked on my door.
Yeah.
And Joe was saying, if you gave him a Watchtower, what good would that do?
Right.
Well, I think it would make a really good diaper.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Or what about 911, Rich? I mean, 911, what happened to 911 in New York City? when the towers went down and
That's all
Watchtower,
they gave her,
Watchtower didn't do anything. They locked their doors and didn't help anybody.
And they told everybody they did, but they didn't.
Mm-mm.
You know, and they were right across the bridge.
Yeah,
They locked everything up. Hey, we're not helping anybody.
that's horrible.
But we're going to send some elders and some ministerial servants down there with Watchtower and Awake magazines after 4,000 people jumped to their death
Yeah,
or were killed.
yeah.
Yeah, people are really going to. Speaking of that, there was a Wake article that featured that planes going into the Watchtower. I mean,
Into the towers,
into the towers.
the Twin Towers.
Yeah, before it happened, and that doesn't get much notoriety. I'm
There
surprised.
was. Maybe Watchtower knew something.
Yeah,
Well, they're connected with the UN, so anything's possible.
yeah, absolutely.
But the
Absolutely.
thing is, they're supposed to be a loving Christian organization, right? They're supposed to be loving and help, your brother. So where were they, especially when 9/11 hit, or even every single day? They're just not there. And you see it when you're in it long enough. You see the hypocrisy.
You do.
Yeah.
Speaking of hypocrisy, there's a book that the Watchtower doesn't want you to read, and you say, "Oh, it must be Crisis of Conscience or 50 Years of Watchtower Slave." Nope. A friend did a really good job. He's a YouTuber, friend of ours, and he read the Shepherd the Flock book,
Yeah.
brand new one, right?
Okay.
And in that book, if you are an elder
Okay.
and you commit adultery,
Mm.
you keep it quiet for 3 years,
Mm.
and nobody finds out about it, and you somehow still have the respect of the congregation. They keep you in that position.
Because
They
they need you.
That's right. But you take someone like myself who stepped down from ministerial servant and wouldn't take the elder's job, and I pointed fingers at the circuit overseer and said, "Why are we voting?
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't the Holy Spirit direct it? Why are we voting?"
Right.
Well, I get this fellowship, I lose my family and everything else. But if you're an elder, nothing happens to you. Even worse than that, we've seen it on TV, so it's not something I'm just making up. We've seen elders convicted of child abuse,
Oh yeah. Big time.
and not just one or two times, many, many times.
Mhm.
And it's all over 6 screens. It's just unbelievable.
Well,
How many
Pennsylvania,
Pennsylvania they had
all
12 or
those elders?
13s, yeah,
and it's worldwide.
and it is worldwide. I would guess that if you're a pedophile, Jehovah's Witnesses have been called a pedophile heaven, because if you get caught, you're not going to get turned into the police. Now maybe they're doing it, but 10 years ago they weren't. Young children were being raped, male and female, young kids, 9, 10, 12 years old, in that range right there. And some of these elders, the body of elders know who is a pedophile.
Oh yeah.
They don't tell anybody.
Right.
And some of those pedophiles are actually serving elders right now.
Oh yeah.
In some of those congregations throughout the world, you have pedophiles messing around with little children. And
I
the
wanna ask
Watchtower
you,
covering about it.
Joe, how many did you have in your congregation? Pedophiles?
There were two.
And were any of them elders?
One was ministerial through.
Right. They keep that quiet with the people in the congregation. I think Diamond Dave wants to say something. Hi, Diamond Dave.
What's going on? How you guys doing?
Good.
We're good. How are you doing tonight?
Good. Well, it's morning here, but I'm doing pretty good. So I actually called in to talk about the financial side of the JWs, because I heard about that, and I don't think they're gonna build a golden calf or anything like that. I think so. From what little I've seen, because I've seen that on YouTube too, from the financial side, because I have degrees in finance and accounting, it looks like they're having cash flow issues. And that's because it's structured as a Ponzi scheme. Like you guys said,
There you
it
go.
survives. It's basically a Ponzi scheme.
I agree.
and that's what makes it different than the Mormon Church, because the Mormon Church makes like 150 times more on dividends and like returns on stocks and bonds than, they do tithing. So if nobody tithes ever again, they won't even notice. But the JWs, what it looks like on the surface is that they have too many illiquid assets like buildings and land and things like that, but not the cash flow to maintain these things. And I think they're doing the obey, and are going to be pushing for money, because those, you have to pay for land to maintain it. You have to maintain the buildings. You have to pay the bills, right? But because the cash flow is not there, you basically have two options: find new sources of income or liquidate those assets. Now, the problem with liquidating assets is two things. First of all, if I have land and like an entire facility worth, let's say, $1 billion, I need to find someone with $1 billion who's willing to buy it from me.
Right.
So that's the first problem. The second problem, so the first problem is financial. The second problem is social, because they claim to be speaking for Jehovah. They claim to be the one true church, right? And that would look very bad if all of a sudden they just do a massive sell-off. They would have to justify, not just to the members, but to basically everybody watching, why the one true church, operating on behalf of Jehovah, that recently purchased all these things for Jehovah, suddenly is selling them off.
Well,
And then they have to find a buyer.
Well, Diamond Dave, that's kind of what they're doing. They're selling off a lot of kingdom halls.
Kingdom halls, for sure.
Yeah, I realize they do have a cash flow problem, and you're correct, very much so. It is a Ponzi scheme. It is a Ponzi. If they don't bring new people in, they're in trouble. But they're filthy rich, and they don't have any real overhead other than the buildings that they have.
Well, they need, like with Bethel, for example, all those workers were all free labor. And I think a lot of the brothers are waking up saying, you know what, I'm not interested in going to Bethel. Screw that. Forget it. I'm not going to Bethel. I'm not going to be a free slave.
So would you say that that's the break in the Ponzi, that the fact that people aren't willing to volunteer their time?
I would say so. Yeah, I would say so, because we've seen that internationally. There was a company in India called Sahara, right? And 1 in 17 people in India, granted at that time, it was like the 80s and 90s, there was, there wasn't 2 billion people, it was getting on 1 billion, but 1 out of 17 people in India participated in a chit scheme where you basically would buy these chits. They're like bonds, basically, right? And then 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years later down the road, you would make money. Now, it ended up breaking because when people stopped, they couldn't pay out. When they couldn't pay out, that drove people away.
Right.
And it ultimately collapsed. I think Enron's another good example. What was it? Bernie Madoff is another example.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So, when it comes to things like that, it's not only a Ponzi scheme, it's a poorly managed Ponzi scheme. Because Ponzi schemes usually, when it comes to things like, for instance, the Mormon Church, when they get the money, they invest it in things that will generate revenue so they can stay afloat.
Right.
They don't sink it into land or buildings, which, they may not have a lot in terms of overhead, but there's also factors to consider, like globally, they have to pay, like here in Mongolia, they have to pay what's called land use rights. So not only do they have to pay to rent the little building that they're in, they have to pay for the land, that like little zoned area that it's on as well. But in order to get in the door in countries like Mongolia that are not friendly to Christianity in general, you need to find people who will accept bribes, and they will keep asking you for bribes. Right? You also, they're also in countries that have much more stricter tax laws, right? They have to either pay taxes or find illegal ways to like move money around,
Mm.
right? And even moving money around costs money. You know, a standard wire fee that you and I can do is $35 on average, $35 to $40 at a bank per wire.
Mm.
But you can only wire so much before there's something called like an SAR or a UAR is filed, a suspicious activity report, right?
And they won't-
So you have to do it in particular increments if you do a wire.
Mhm.
So you know, when you have that, it's kind of like the saying, more money, more problems.
Mm.
That's why the wealthier people get, the more stressed out they get, because they have to manage more, or they have to pay people like accountants to manage it for them. And then they have to manage the accountants to make sure nobody's embezzling.
Mm.
Right. So yeah, it's I definitely think it's a Ponzi scheme, and I think that unless they get some type of revenue, I think the JWs are going to stall, like completely stall out. I'm sure they have conservative hardliners somewhere that are not on the internet, you know, all 10 of those people
Mhm.
that will keep tithing until they go broke.
Mhm.
But the overwhelming majority of people won't even join in the first place.
Hey, Dave, this is Rick Farron at the Six Screens. I wanted to just come in for a second. I really find it fascinating what you're talking about. And in the last couple of weeks here, we've been reporting as well up in Warwick, New York. Of course, that's where the world headquarters is. They just purchased within the last month. There's an IBM building that was right next to the complex. Well, I say right next, within a half a mile, and they purchased it. And I believe the price was $15 million, and it sounds like a real deal. IBM wanted out, and like you were just saying, you got to find a buyer, and the Watchtower bought it. And when I've been doing some research here on that, Susan as well, we find that even the Watchtower spokesman who was handling the procedure mentioned that they're really not sure why they bought it. They're gonna kind of
Wait, what?
they're gonna
What?
put it on the back burner. I mean, seriously. So, so
Okay, so
yeah,
there's the poor financial mismanagement right there. Because if I was a part of the governing body, like let's pretend Diamond Dave is in charge of the finances, they pay me to like help them out. First thing I'm going to do, that building is not going to be on the back burner. That building is going to generate income. We're going to rent out each floor to a different company, and we're going to charge moderately high rent from these companies so we can get that income. Any other building that is just sitting there or is on the back burner that's not even doing anything, well, guess what? That is also going to generate income. I don't know, like, I don't know what Jehovah's Witnesses call it, but our churches and the Mormon churches are called like meeting houses, right? Any one of those meeting houses that is not being used, guess what? That is being rented out for community functions as a public relations move, as well as to generate more income. And that would be done on a global scale.
I want
Right.
you to what I came up with here, Diamond Dave. The Watchtower, they're very clever, and I'm sure you know, as well as myself, what's going on in the world of hyperscalers in these gigantic data centers. Here in America, I'm not sure what's going on in Mongolia, but here in America, we have gigantic companies like Amazon, Google, Apple, Facebook. What they are doing is they are building these data centers where
Yep.
they're going to hold all of the AI data from all over the world. Now, these are humongous, gigantic buildings. Just in the last 2 weeks, Facebook is going to build a data center in Louisiana, and the cost of the data center is a whopping 50 billion with a B, 50
Yep.
billion dollars. Now, just to give you a little idea, it's better to build one of these data centers in a northern tier state because of it uses so much electricity, air conditioning to keep it cool. When you have all of these servers and all of these gigantic computers in the building, it's going to heat up. And the reason why I have some privy to this, there's a data center right next to my business here in Massachusetts. And the cooling and the water, you should see the pipes and the size of the air conditioning systems. You need a lot of water. And so consequently, what you have here, this is a perfect site in Warwick for one of these gigantic data centers. It's got
Yep.
water. There's a water right. There's a big lake right next to it. They can pump water into it. And now what's also got Susan and I concerned is just this week. In fact, within the last 2 weeks, let's go with that. The Watchtower, well, not the Watchtower, but the state of New York put a moratorium on new data centers because of the amount of electricity it's going to take to run them. So Watchtower did this evidently right under the right under the wire, right under the timeline. So I think that's what they might have up their sleeve.
So okay, so that actually makes sense because like data centers are huge revenue makers. So if that is what they're doing and if that's their intent, then yeah, that makes perfect sense. Here in Mongolia, we're exploding with data centers because it's so cold here, right? Like I mean, it's the middle of summer and right now it is 54 degrees. In winter, it gets negative 75 below zero before wind chill, right? So we are the coldest capital on the planet. So like in Inner Mongolia, China and Mongolia has built, I think it's like 89 massive data centers now. There's going to be several of them built here in Mongolia. There's an entire smart city that's planned in 2030. That's a mix of like, apartments and employment places, but it's going to be based around data centers, right? And then they're going to be using it to generate heat, so that way, like heating costs go dramatically down. Which, granted, here they're dirt cheap compared to America, but still. So yeah, that I can see them doing that. Then that makes sense.
You want to say something, Susan?
No,
You
covered
okay.
it. Yes.
All right. Well, Dave, well, thank you for discussing that. But it's just I'm not sure that's what they're doing with it. And because I mean, they don't have to share that information.
Why would they? Why would they buy that building? There's no reason for it. They haven't even finished building their 500. What is it? $500,000. Oh, 500 million. Where they're going to make movies, their media center. So they haven't even finished that. So why would they even buy that building?
I have two reasons I can guess, and these are just guesses. But financially, when you look at Ponzi schemes or any shady financial activity, one of them is money laundering. You have to make dirty money look clean, and so you invest it into something. Right, you got to build something somehow. It's a slush fund, basically. You got to build stuff. The other thing the Mormon Church does similarly with temples is to give the general public the impression that they're expanding, that they're growing, right? Because people don't really look at statistics that often, right? You can come out with a list of statistics and everyone's eyes glazes over, but all you have to do is just point at different buildings or like, yeah, the JWs are building a $500 million thing here, and then they're building this thing over here, and now they bought this building. They must be growing because they have the capital, they have the perceived capital to do these things, even if on paper they don't. Right. So it's a form of deception is what it boils down to. Those are my two guesses as to why they did that. But
well, Diamond Jim, let me throw a guess in there myself. Watchtower is famous for buying old buildings like the Squib building or whatever, and having the JWs come in with free labor, free materials, absolutely gutting the building and putting all brand new stuff in there, and then flipping the building.
They flip it. That could be another thing too.
Sure.
The risk with that, though, especially if, again, this is just a guess based off of my perception, but if that perception is correct, if you're having cash flow issues, flipping buildings is a dangerous gamble because there's no guarantee that someone's going to buy it or even rent it out in the first place.
Depends on
Right. So you would want to go, and again, this is just basic finance 101.
Yeah.
Have cash on hand and make sure your income is greater than your output. That's what it boils down to. But yeah, maybe they are doing that. Maybe they're doing a Hail Mary. It's
Hey,
possible.
we got Pixie. We got Pixie coming in on the telephone line. Pixie, what do you have to say?
I found a book I've looked for several years. A physician friend of mine noted to me that much of the Watchtower material, the way they play with our heads, went back to the Korean War era. And it's taken me until today to find the darn book. It's reprinted in 2025. It's called Rape of the Mind. It's $9 at Amazon. And the gentleman's last name is Meerloo. He's a Dutch World War II brilliant guy. And again, it was first written in 1961, reprinted 2015, Rape of the Mind. And they talk about these mind games they play and even using the word truth to tell the prisoners what truth is according to them. So it looks like a very brilliant little book.
You know, getting back to Diamond Dave, thank you, Pixie, for that. Getting back to Diamond Dave and finances and so forth. The Watchtower is pretty smart. They've got guys in places that on the governing body that are financial experts. They didn't have any problem selling off any of their properties in Brooklyn, and they got mega bucks for them.
$2 billion.
Yeah, $2 billion a profit they made, in Brooklyn. So they're pretty good at it. And I'm sure if they're doing something, they're going to make a profit at it. I haven't heard of the Watchtower losing money on anything.
Well, that's why they got rid of all the Bethelites so that they didn't have to have any overhead, and they didn't give them any kind of stipends to have them move forward in their lives. They're very stingy.
I have a question.
Yeah.
As maybe Rick could help me or Rich. This project in Ramapo, that's been going on for 2-3 years. When is that going to be finished? Does anybody?
Well, yeah, I'll jump in here. They're saying now 2029. Now, it's they've been dragging their feet right along. Now here's the Watchtower. I don't know what the Mormons say about the scriptures, but they use them, I'm sure, as well. But the Watchtower always would tell us, as Jehovah's Witnesses, count the cost before you get involved in anything. In other words, am I going to be able to afford this? Now, they bid off this gigantic media center in Ramapo. They started it actually 3 years ago. And there's going to be, it's been estimated this Ramapo multimedia center is going to cost $500 million. That's a half of $1 billion. Now, they're having some trouble up there with the neighbors. The neighbors don't want this giant thing, but this got me thinking this week alone. This thing is so huge. This is another great thing for a data center. I don't want to focus too much on it, but I think the Watchtower was in the real estate business, and I don't know if they're going to ever open that as a media center. I think what it is right now is a fundraiser. I think it's a way to, hey, we're building Ramapo, we need more money, and the witnesses are dodging and not dodging it, but they're putting it into the pot. So but Joe, 2029. Yep.
Wow. So 6 years.
That meteor.
I think Stefan wants to say something.
Oh, go ahead, Steph.
I think
I just wanted to I just wanted to recap because there's been a lot of communication. Diamond Dave, are you saying that you feel like Watchtower is in a cash crunch, and that the only option they have is to either liquidate Kingdom Halls or to ask for bigger donations? Is that kind of what your mindset is?
That is based off of my perception on what little I have seen. I could be wrong, but that just those two things, and I think Rick has talked about other similar things in the past. Just in the field of finance, that doesn't necessarily mean that they are, but that is a red flag. Those are, red flags. So I'm just commenting on
this other building that they bought, the IBM building. What was your take on why they bought that?
So here's the thing. My take on that was that because of that perception, they would need to generate income somehow. So they bought the real estate to then turn it into something and rent it out. And then that's when Rick started talking about data centers, and that makes sense because there are people who are doing that, and there are companies that are turning over unused like factories or just buildings to be turned into data centers because they can make a ton of money off of it. So that's my guess.
Okay. Rick, may I say one more thing?
Of course.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm just going to go right back to the very beginning of the show. And first of all, you guys look great. Dave Connie and brother Joe Dario, you guys look great. I just wanted to say something. I was just so excited this weekend. I was contacted by a member of the ex-witness community. There is a brother who has just woken up within the last 2 weeks. And Joe and Fran know I've always been looking for somebody in Chicago, and this gentleman is from Chicago. And in fact, we're going to get together for burgers and beer tomorrow. But I'm just very excited about that. He told me a couple of things which I thought was interesting. He mentioned very low attendance at the Kingdom Hall. Mm-hmm. And again, we talk about these things all the time, but I just want to give you guys, this directly from somebody who literally just woke up within 2 weeks ago. There's nobody at the meetings. Very few young people, and the young people that are there are totally not interested in reaching out. Ministerial servant and elder. No desire to do that whatsoever. Even if you're talking about a person, I believe this kid is still in high school, and they're working him to death, and he thinks they're going to be making him a ministerial servant pretty soon, and they're probably, rushing him. They'll probably be an elder in his early 20s. And again, this is all because they don't have any people. And he also mentioned having merged Kingdom Halls because there's not enough people. Secondly, there's another person that woke up, and if you're on YouTube all the time like I am, he's a younger person. I want to say he's from Texas, but he's a former elder, and he has just walked away from Watchtower as well within, I want to say, based upon his comments, within the last 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And all the same reinforcement, low attendance, none of the young people are interested, numerous pedophile cases. And you're almost watching him, deal with the reality of walking away from this cult in real time. He put out a video just yesterday. Mm-hmm. So, I kind of feel for him because he is married and I believe he has children. Mm-hmm. And, I know what's probably coming down the pike with that. I would never tell him. He's going to have to discover that on his own, but we can all kind of hold special place in our heart for this guy because he's going to be going through it, I'm pretty sure. But just the point being, within 2 weeks, just going back to how you guys started the program with Watchtower, the collapse of Watchtower. This is just evidence right there. 2 weeks, 2 individuals that walked away. One is a former elder. And so the collapse of Watchtower is real. And I just wanted to spread that great news.
Thank you, Stefan. Thank you for the update. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
There is so much information out there about how corrupt the Watchtower is. And it's catching up with the governing body, and they're in panic mode. I do believe that there is something coming down that they're going to get as much money as they can from the rank and file Jehovah's Witness. Mm-hmm. I don't know how they're going to do it, but it's coming. And you're not supposed to question it. That's what they want. You're supposed to say, this is coming from Jehovah, and Jehovah wants us to sell our houses, our cars, and give all the money to the Watchtower. It's going to be something like that because they're setting the groundwork for that. Sorry. They're setting it right now. Everything that you're hearing from jdavid.org and from the platform and their literature is obey, follow the direction of the faithful and discreet slave.
Even if it doesn't make any sense. Remember,
Even if it
Rich?
doesn't make any
That's
sense.
the scary part about it.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
But you know what, you guys? You know, the whole thing is, and I keep saying this. You know, these men they put themselves in place of God. Even though they're not inspired, and even though they're not infallible, the very fact that they say obey, because if you question him, it's like questioning God.
Yeah.
They don't realize how dangerous of a spot they just put themselves in, because they're making themselves equal, and I will repeat this, equal to God himself.
Yeah.
And they can't do that. They are in such deep, I mean, it's bad enough they're in deep doo-doo with humanity on earth, but I would not want to be in their shoes when they stand before the Almighty himself, because every cotton-picking thing they do, every monetary thing they do, every sneaky little thing they do, every little thing that they think that they're so clever at doing, that is all going to come out in the wash. It's going to all come out. God's going to expose every single bit of that garbage, because I'm sure God himself is sick and tired of it. And, you know, he's letting them run for a while, but believe me, they are burying themselves very deep with the Almighty himself. And I don't want to be in their shoes when they meet with him.
Right.
Well, you know, brother, to your
Very
point,
good point.
when they baptized people back in the day, they baptized in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as of like 20 years ago, we started doing 6 screens. That's not how the baptism goes.
Mm-hmm.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and the Spirit-driven organization.
Mm-hmm.
So they are equating the divinity of the governing body with Jesus and with Jehovah.
Mm-hmm.
I call him Yahweh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's dangerous, and that's that. And it's like I said, you know, all this monetary stuff, and the fact that people are leaving the organization, people are waking up to their lies and garbage. It's just pure garbage that they preach. I mean, they want everybody to obey, but really the obey thing, if you think about it, this is 21st century slavery. This is what this organization is. This is slavery under the disguise of a religion.
Yes.
But it's slavery, because they keep calling their organization a paradise.
Yeah.
There's nothing paradise about it. It's all slavery. It's all evil. It's all corrupt.
Mm-hmm. It's all bondage.
Yeah.
I was going to say, can I just say something? I was going to say, well, you know, that's what Jim Jones did too, was complete loyalty. All the members had to be completely loyal. And they literally, it cost them their lives. They literally had to drink the Kool-Aid. Mm-hmm. And many of us drank the Kool-Aid because we thought it was the truth. But once you wake up, you know, you cannot ignore what you know to be false. Yeah. And, you know, that's very scary. I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, and Jim Jones was right in San Francisco. And a lot of those people, it was like 913 people, something like that, died. And they're buried over there in Oakland in a mass grave. But, you know, pure evil. And, you know, at what point, see, this is the point I want to make. You know, obey us even if it doesn't make any sense. Now, that's the scary part right there. Yeah. That is the terrifying part. So that's what Jim Jones said to the people, right? And they're in Guyana in the compound. And there were some of them that tried to run away, and they were instantly murdered. So, you know, you have to really think about the power that these high controlled cults have, and Watchtower, Jehovah's Witnesses, is definitely one of them. And I know the Mormons are, and, you know, there's a lot of them out there. People are looking for paradise. They're looking for a better life. They're looking for a better world, you know, brotherhood and peace and love and all that. But you have to really wake up to how dangerous these cults can be. And Watchtower is not literally like Jim Jones in the sense that they're out in the forest out in Guyana, and people are working. They were working on the farms like slaves. But the thing is Watchtower still is killing people. How do I mean that? Well, the blood transfusions is a human blood sacrifice. That's how Watchtower's killing people. And they also are killing people emotionally. They're killing people psychologically, that people feel absolutely trapped, that if they want to leave, like that one elder that was in Italy or is in Italy, and many others, even some listening in tonight, they can't just walk away because they know there's a very, very high price. They're going to lose their wife or husband and their family. And I was saying to both Rich and Joe today, which is, because that's bondage right there. That's emotional blackmail. But I was saying earlier, the Islam religion is the same way. I was watching some videos myself online, and I thought this was very interesting, that there are Muslims who are, their faith is Islam, and they don't even really believe it. They don't. They believe that Jesus is really God. But yet, God forbid that if they stepped out of their belief of being in Islam, they would not only lose their family and their spouses, but most likely they would be killed. So a lot of people live in fear, which is really, really sad, because that destroys you from the inside out. When you know something is absolutely not true, and you keep continuing to live that way, you're wasting your life. You're just wasting your life. It's like going to work and not getting paid. You're going through all the motions, but there's no benefits of it. Go ahead, Donald.
Well, hi, Dick and Constance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello?
We're here.
Yes.
Yep, go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
Hey, it's RJ.
Hi, RJ.
Hey, how are you?
I don't know if anybody talked about it, but I'm in the Midwest right now, and we have had terrible. We had like ashy air from the wildfires in Canada.
Oh wow. No, we haven't talked about that tonight.
So
wow. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if it's been brought up, but it's been brutal. Like you can't even see the skies. Like you can't go outside. It's like smoking 6 cigarettes in a row.
Yeah. I lived in Northern California, so I'm very familiar with the fires. Yep, I get it. You stay inside.
And, I might not have donated a lot of money and field service time when I was a witness, but one thing I was dedicated. And I would say, for a couple of those years, it was the most important part of my identity in my life. I was dedicated. And you think about like all the stuff they're doing now, and the more you learn, and it was the same back then,
Yeah.
But I had no business giving them the wheel. They were Toonces, the driving cat. Bad news if they're in charge.
Well, nobody should have
right?
nobody should have the right to be able to control your thinking. People that are inside Watchtower, they're mentally captives. Watchtower has their brain. They do. And they don't have free will. They don't have free will. They don't have free thought. They don't have freedom at all. Nobody. God didn't create us to be oppressive and abused. That's for sure.
We're supposed to, love our Creator and love what Jesus did for us. We're not supposed to be lusting after paradise earth or even heaven. That'll come, when you have a relationship with Jesus and our Heavenly Father, Yahweh. That's who you pray to. That's who you obey. Your conscience, if you pray, your conscience will be very sensitive, and you'll do the right thing. Yeah. You don't need these people these governing body people who tell you what the right thing to do is,
Right.
they're liars. Everything they're telling you is to advance their own agenda.
Hey, Dick, can I cut in there for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
I left, over 15 years ago, and I still have an uncle that won't talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
I have a sister that won't talk to me. I've got a former wife that won't talk to me. My sons won't talk to me. Yeah, I know what that feels like. Same with Rick. Same with Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing.
But I mean, think about like people like my uncle, and you're talking about your son and Rick. He always posts the worst stuff that is happening at the conventions and that. And as you guys know, there's a geographically, like, and economically, they're not getting a lot of new members in Europe and the United States. So they're getting a lot of new members in Africa, in third world countries and such.
Sure.
And then they have these assemblies, they have like tribal dances, and they just have like no idea what's going on, and they're just throwing stuff up at the wall to see what sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as witnesses, they got to witness that. They got to watch all this junk going on that they put in the videos. And then, is the witness going to say, like, my uncle going to be like, oh, that's brilliant. I made a good call not talking to these family members.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, in Africa,
it's so ridiculous,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not everybody's connected to the internet in Africa.
Right.
It's kind of a third world country. In America, we know about the United Nations. We know about the money laundering that they've done. We know about all the CSA. But over there in Africa, they're oblivious to this stuff. That's what the Watchtower.
Yeah, and they're posting the videos on the website. Like, you're seeing a lot of like stuff, but they don't really have their finger on the pulse of what's going on.
Yeah.
So they're putting out all these strange videos, and they're like embarrassing to watch. They're cringeworthy.
Yeah.
I'm almost wondering if their retention rates are as bad as like Mormonism, because I know like like Mormonism and like other high demand religions go to Africa because it's like the only continent that hasn't been touched, right? And there's a huge swath of Christianity in Africa, so they can kind of play off of that. But at least in Mormonism, and maybe you guys know more about this from the Jehovah's Witness side, but in Mormonism, a lot of people in Africa, they join the church because they see a lot of wealthy Americans participate, and they want to gain that financial benefit. And then when they don't find employment, when they don't get a green card, they just leave and never come back.
Right.
I was on a ex-Mormon podcast actually a few days ago, talking about this, because on my Facebook, I'd say I've got about 40,000-ish followers from all over Africa. And I mean, they have internet, and they don't necessarily care about what the Mormon church does or like the racist history, because they just want money. They just want to grow and come to the US and like start a new life. They could not care less. So I don't know about the JW side, but my guess is it might be similar.
Yeah.
Where they'll show up for a bit, realize there's nothing to it, and then just not go back. I don't know.
I want to add to that, Diamond Dave. Rich and I were watching a couple weeks ago about the wealthiest ministers around the world. Remember that, Rich?
Yep.
And they said their name, and they said the name of the church, and they said exactly how much they're worth. And let me tell you, there were like 3 African ministers. I remember 1 or 2 of them were definitely in Nigeria. And oh my gosh, they are multi-millionaires. I mean, they have Rolls Royces, they have mansions, they have everything. And this was in Nigeria. And it was very, very interesting because, the people were, of course, they were, so thrilled to be a part of that church and the wealth and the opulence and all that. So what I'm trying to say is that, maybe in certain areas, maybe in villages or whatever, there wouldn't be the internet. But I think eventually, as time goes on, even the Africans who are JWs will wake up, because, it's a community. They're a tight knit community, and
Mhm.
people talk. That that's very important. So
Well, there's that aspect, but there's sorry to cut you off, but there's that aspect, but there's also the cultural aspect, right? So, like, it's very similar, actually. Granted, the cultures are vastly different, but the principle is very similar to here in Mongolia, where in Mongolia, you basically worship Genghis Khan as God. There are statues all over the place. I have a statue behind him, right? And, like, there are certain things Mongolian men and women do to participate in the culture. The moment you become a Christian, you are no longer Mongolian. You no longer are seen as part of the people. You're not. You're basically you're outside of that. You're like westernized. You're not a true Mongolian. And that's very similar in Africa, where I've talked with Africans who already talk about how JWs are cults, right? And they, like, whenever they find out they have a friend who become a Jehovah's Witness, they will say, he's not Nigerian anymore. He's not one of us. We don't talk to him anymore. So there's that aspect too, which will be interesting to see how that plays out in the long term.
Yeah. Well, in some of those villages in Africa too, you have a lot of voodoo going on, the witchcraft, and that's very deeply instilled in their culture. So it's very interesting.
Halamayombe, yep.
Halamayombe. Yep, definitely.
Star 6, would you like to comment? What do you think the Watchtower is up to? They're pushing obey like they never did before. I think something dramatic is going to happen. What do you think it might be? Star 6. Just take a guess. What do you think? Go
Yes,
ahead.
go ahead. Yeah, hi, Stefan.
This is Stefan. I'm thinking two things, and I have been thinking this all along, and I think Diamond Dave really just kind of cemented one for me. But I think is they're going to start asking for donations in a way that they've never done before. And on the back of that, if they don't receive the donations, I think they're going to start trying to get rid of Kingdom Halls. And I think the first thing would be to get rid of the midweek meeting, or maybe just do it 100% virtual. Somehow they've got to distance the meetings from being tied to a physical Kingdom Hall. Because once you can get them to accept that, then you can go ahead and sell the Kingdom Halls without anybody raising, a big fuss. So I think it's going to be asking for donations in a way they've never done before, and then gradually separating the meetings from physical brick and mortar Kingdom Halls so that you can start to liquidate more of those and free up cash that way. That's what I think.
Good guess. That very well could be the answer. I mean, those Kingdom Halls, most of them are worth $500,000 US. I mean, they're beautiful, beautiful buildings, and they keep them up very well physically.
Yeah. Well, and then when you have jw.org, the broadcasting, how convenient. People can just send in their credit card. They can do monthly auto pay. I mean, that there's no difference between that and TBN or Daystar or any of the other ones, right? It's the same idea. Just make your contribution. When I was in, one thing I really liked about the JWs was they were not pushing for money. Now, I came from Catholicism, and they'd always pass the basket, right? Remember that, Rich? They'd always pass the basket every Sunday, sometimes twice in one service. But anyway, but the JWs had the little box in the back, and you knew it was there, and there was no pressure. The Watchtower has totally changed now. I mean, it's all about money. People are obligated to make a contract of $14 a month or whatever, and that's just who Watchtower is. I mean, if you can't see the greed, something's got to be really wrong, because it's about greed.
When you have dollars in a hedge fund somewhere, what do you do with it? I mean,
well, it's like telling the story about Bob Hope, how you met Bob Hope's.
Yeah, I met Bob Hope's son in Palm Springs when I was in the military back 50 years ago. And I said, well, how rich is your father? He said, oh,
Yeah, go ahead. Wait a minute. Hold on, RJ. Hold on, honey. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
you say he's worth about 10 or 20 million dollars. I said, well, what do you give him for Father's Day? I mean, what could he want? So he wants another 20 million.
Mhm.
So people that have money are never satisfied with money. It's never enough.
Mhm.
They need their money is their security.
Yeah.
Their security is not our Heavenly Father's plan for righteous people.
Mhm.
That's not their security.
Mhm.
Their security is their bank account.
Yeah. Well, and it's like an empty hole, right?
Yep.
Because you never fill it. You have 20 million, then you want 40 million, then you want, it's never ending.
Never enough.
But I was just going to say in this course of this conversation, what I see with Watchtower, the people who really wake up and the people who do not wake up, I know there's a high price to leave. Trust me. I've been through it. So has Rich and Joe and many others listening in. But the people who stay in, yes, they're indoctrinated. But you know what? They worship this religion. They worship this religion. That's what it is.
Well, that religion gives
They worship it.
Gives them community, and because they feel that they're elitist,
Yes.
they're better than everybody else. They go door to door. They're more righteous. They're more religious. They're better people. And another thing is, if they're not successful in life, and they're carpet shampoos and window washers and people that mow grass and stuff like that, well, that's fine because they don't want money. They just want to serve Jehovah so they can get the paradise. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I come in, Dick?
Yeah, please do.
Hey, this is John Terrio. I wanted to give an answer to your question about what do we think the Watchtower is up to.
Yeah.
Think back way back in like the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
We didn't have the internet and all that stuff. Cell phones and whenever they talked about somebody who was apostate, we didn't even know where they were. We didn't even know where to go find them to talk to them. Where are they? Where are the apostates? And so we never had any communication with apostates, and we never had any communication with ex-Jehovah's Witnesses who left. They would just leave, and then they would disappear. But now, the society that we live in now, we have this information that's available, online and the internet and YouTube and Facebook, your cell phone. So back then, back in the 70s and 80s, it was much, much easier for the Watchtower to control brothers and sisters in the congregation because they were not fighting against the internet and YouTube.
Right.
And so we keep talking about the Watchtower being in panic mood. And so, how they keep coming up with obey us, even if it doesn't make any sense, if you don't understand it. And they coming out with all these ridiculous things, to follow them no matter what, just listen to them, and so they're in a panic mode. It's what Rick is always says. They're in a panic mode, so they're panicking. You can see all the people that are leaving. A lot of people that they go to the meetings, but they don't believe in it anymore. They just go there because of their friends and family.
Right.
And so, what's the Watchtower up to? Well, they're desperately trying to fight to cover up, anything that they can, and they're trying to keep control of the brothers and the sisters in the congregation.
Yeah.
And that's what I can see that they're up to. They're all of the nonsense that they're coming up with on jw.org, all of the latest videos, and it's becoming a situation where it's really obvious that there is something wrong. So anyway, that's my answer. I don't know if that's a good one.
Well,
it's as good as any.
But with regard, Barbara Anderson had said with regards to child sexual abuse, that didn't just recently start. That's been going around since the 40s, and that's a very, very serious situation that destroys a child's life for many, many years. They have to really get some serious, training and counseling with regards to that to work through that. But we just started. I just wanted to say this. I just want to say this because this is really important. Watchtower tries to keep it really quiet. Joe was an elder for 12, 13 years. And the majority of the people in the congregation are not aware that there are pedophiles. Now they are. It's becoming more prevalent because of the internet. But I just wanted to say this. I was going to do a show in reference to what pedophiles do as far as grooming. What is grooming and what does that involve? I'm getting a little sidetracked, but it ties in with Watchtower, so just bear with me. I had a girlfriend of mine that I had worked with when I was in California, and I've mentioned her name, Adrian, and she's a lovely person, but she was sexually abused by her own biological father when she was a child, and it would always happen at nighttime. He'd come into her bedroom. Anyway, I had asked her if she'd like to come on the show, and I haven't heard from her, so I don't push that. So it's very sensitive, and to me, her answer is no. But she's doing well. But it was a lot of therapy. Anyway, the reason why I bring this up is because this is such a prevalent epidemic in Watchtower, and Watchtower cannot hide this. Okay, so I'd like to share this with the audience. Years ago, I don't know how many years ago, but there used to be a show on Dateline, and this guy named Chris Hansen was an investigative reporter on MSNBC, which is here in the States. And he would literally crack down on pedophiles, right? There'd be an interview. And we were just talking about that. Yeah. We were just talking about that last week, like, wow, I forgot what his name was. And Rich says, oh, his name was Chris Hansen. It's like, oh, yeah, it was Chris Hansen. Anyway, so we were watching Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity has a show now called It's One-on-One, where he interviews different people. And it's called Hang Out with Sean Hannity. Okay. He was interviewing Chris Hansen. It's like, oh my gosh, there's the guy. Well, Chris Hansen has this show now called Takedown. You can go on YouTube. There's a lot of free videos. He also has some that you can pay for, but trust me, there's hundreds that are free. And I have been watching them. I just can't get enough of it. And it's people who are online predators, and they are predators for underage children. And they have it's a sting operation, and they come in, and it's also the sheriff department and the police department, but especially sheriff in that county is right there. And the person is caught. They're caught. And then Chris talks to them and asks them, why would you be interested in a child? Somebody who like 14 years old. Well, I didn't know they were 14. Yes, you did, because I have the transcripts, and this is what the conversation was. And you knew she was, 14 and you're, 45, right? Anyway, it's very, very interesting. So it's called Takedown by Chris Hansen, Hansen, and it's a YouTube. So the point I'm trying to bring this up is every time I watch that, I think to myself, how many elders are in the congregation? Because these pedophiles certainly do know one another in the congregation. Okay. And how many of them are grooming the different young ones? And how convenient that there's the 2-witness rule, that they don't get busted. So anyway, I'm just saying that because this is something that will really open up your eyes how these sick scumbags operate. And, they try to weasel out, well, I just came to talk to her. And, it wasn't really, we were just going to have pizza or sodas. I wasn't going to do anything, It's very, very interesting. But it will give you an insight on the mind of these predators. And some of them, okay, there was one guy, he was a medical doctor. There was something on my phone. We're here in South Carolina. It was an anesthesiologist There was who was a pedophile. Then there was another one who was a judge. There was a judge
goodness.
here in South Carolina, had been on the bench for 30 years, 30 years on the bench. He was in his 60s. He was a pedophile, and he was interested in pornography with children and toddlers. And he got busted down in Florida. Okay. So he's going to be locked up and his career is over. So, this pedophilia issue in Watchtower or across the globe, it doesn't matter how wealthy a person is. It doesn't matter their status, their career, socioeconomic, their race, anything. It's across the board. And every time I watch this, I always think about the pedophiles inside Watchtower, a bunch of scumbags.
Mm-hmm.
And that is really destroying a lot of families, even if they were elders or whatever, right? So anyway, it's just something I really wanted to say. Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Connie, it's Susan. I wanted to ask you a question. Why do they say these people become interested in this? It's so disgusting.
I'll tell you
How do they
why.
become involved? Why?
I'll tell you why, honey. They get involved in watching pornography. It starts with pornography. And there are websites, they mentioned it once, but I'm not going to say the name of it, where there's a website where you can be like daddy, daughter type of thing. And people are into all this sick, debased stuff, and they're just pornography. I mean, at one time with pornography, I guess they had Playboy magazines and you could look through it. Now you can just get on your phone or on your computer and pay a subscription or something. It's so accessible.
Let me add to that a bit, just kind of a theory that I have. So, again, this is me, but Satan the devil is a thought caster, and we all know that. He'll put a thought in your mind. And in the Bible, it talks about, I think it's towards the back of the Bible. Can't quote it right off the top, but it says, this person begot this, had this son, that had this son, and generations, okay?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And in the Bible, when you open it up, it's got like 20 generations, and you say, well, why would somebody put that in the Bible, or why did the Bible writer put it in there?
Right.
The genealogy
Mm-hmm.
that goes back 20 or 30 generations.
Mm.
Who cares? That was, 2,500 years ago or better.
Mm.
Well, because there are generational curses. There are people that have a certain bend or tendency towards something that's evil. And Satan knows that. And he's going to, he throws that he casts that thought into your mind very, very often. Very, very often. And
well, there was that one young kid, Rich. He was 21,
mm-hmm.
and Chris Hansen found him, and he was interested in a 14-year-old girl, and that started when he was in high school, and he knew it was a problem.
Yeah.
See, a lot of times they know it's a problem and they need to deal with it. It's almost like an alcoholic, right? You ever go to AA meetings, right? I'm not an alcoholic, but I've had plenty of alcoholism in my family. So I've been to AA meetings and so forth. Anyway, what they teach in AA is, you didn't get caught yet, right? Mm-hmm. That's the key. You're an alcoholic, you have an issue with alcohol, but you haven't been caught yet with a DUI or domestic violence or whatever, but especially DUI. The same thing is true with this. They know that there's a problem, and they're just that they don't ever get caught.
Just let me follow up with something else. Just 1 second, brother, and I'll give you the floor. There are portals that people
open.
That get opened, and like smoking marijuana or using drugs, or getting inebriated all the time. You open yourself up to the demons. They get in there. I mean, not only reading pornography or Ouija boards and stuff like that. When you start doing drugs, I think especially marijuana, that's an opinion of mine.
There's a lot of drugs out there.
Satan gets into your brain and your heart. He lives inside of you. And these people know what they're doing is wrong. And they know if they get caught, they get sent to prison.
Oh, yeah.
And they know what happens to pedophiles in
Oh,
prison.
yes.
I mean, it's horrible what happens to
Well,
them,
they're killed.
and they can't control it. But it can be controlled only through prayer.
Yeah.
That's-
And pornography is a gateway, Rich.
Yeah,
And
sure is.
men are very visual, right? Men are very, very visual people. They like to see things. They see a beautiful woman or whatever the case might be. Women, we do that, but for us, it's more with the heart, and the personality of a person that attracts us. But men, they're very visual. So they start watching, pornography, then it changes. I mean, there was one brother, I'm not going to mention his name. He's an ex-JW. He's been on the show, been some time ago, but he was an elder. And he said, he said, I could call him up right now and tell you the truth. He said he came out of, with a bunch of elders, and he said there was an elder sitting right there inside the Kingdom Hall looking at porn.
Mhm.
Okay, and he's an elder looking at pornography.
The power of pornography.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody ever watched the last interview of Ted Bundy.
Mm.
You remember he killed a lot of
boy.
women
He was handsome
and
too. Remember
was
that?
sentenced
Yeah.
to the death.
Mhm.
I think he went to the electric chair.
He did in
Oh,
Florida.
And
wow.
they interviewed him. They said, "Why? What was the trigger that started you down this terrible path?"
Killing people.
And he
Serious.
said, "Pornography."
Really? Wow.
Pornography.
That was actually debunked by one of the eyewitnesses on, I think it was on John DeLynne's show. There was an ex-Mormon that talked about that. He tried to deflect because he thought that argument would show that he's like mentally deranged. And so he tried to pin it on pornography so he would get life in prison, not be executed.
Okay, thanks for.
But there's a ton of stuff out there where, at least for Ted Bundy specifically, he just and that was, what was his name? Last name was Dobbs, focused on the family, but like he organized that whole interview, right? And then he had this tearful conversion, right? And he was pulling out all the stops, right? So yeah, that's why it came up out of nowhere, because even in the interviews in the documentary, pornography never came up until he had this heartfelt conversion with Pastor or Dr. James Dobson.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks for sharing that.
Bundy
Yeah.
was the one that would use crutches, and he had books, and he'd drop the books, and it had women, oh, I'll come and help you. And he had a van, and it was all a setup so he could grab the woman and put her in the van.
Yes.
And he was very, I didn't think,
I mean, when it comes to why people go after kids, it's really a power dynamic. It's at the end of the day, it's all good. It's a power dynamic, because I mean, kids are taught to trust adults, and in the Watchtower and the Mormon Church, you're taught to trust your bishop. You were taught to trust your elder.
Right.
So whenever the elders are doing things or bishops are doing things, they are already preconditioned to do that. It's not necessarily pornography. That might be a factor for some people. I don't think it's necessarily a universal factor, because many people have watched pornography. I've done it. My wife has done it. Right. And and yet there's a lot of neurological studies on the brains of people who abuse children, and they are like fundamentally different than the average human brain. The prefrontal cortex is not fully developed. Also, the amygdala, they have no like impulse control, right? Which the average person does have to some degree, right? Like, I used to be addicted to heroin, but like, even when it comes to like comparing the brains of like drug addicts, both current and sober, there is more impulse control in someone addicted to drugs, and there's usually more of a prefrontal cortex development in a drug addict than there is in someone who abuses children. And there's a whole debate on, is it physical injury? Is it like a deformity from birth? But
well, and sometimes what happens is someone who's been, not all the time, but someone who has been sexually abused, carries that on. They become an abuser of children. Not all, but
Yeah, that's also another factor too.
it's learned behavior.
You know, when you said impulse control, it made me think of, because I used to watch this Chris Hansen
Yeah, it's great.
show.
Yeah.
Some of these guys actually, in the back of their mind, believed that the cops were going to be there. But they didn't have any impulse control, and they still went. To think, because he would interview him, and he said, "Why did you show up?"
Right.
And
What were you thinking?
They would say, "Well, I kind of figured the cops were going to be involved." So that shows a lack of impulse control.
Yeah. Matthew,
Hey, Joe.
Matthew, hold on, honey. Matthew, did you want to say something?
Thanks. It's good to be with you, Joe and Dick, and of course to see Dave. It's always a nice surprise to come together. I was just looking at Slim Chick's comment, because she said, when it comes to control, they'll control them in a supermax prison. Well, we hope that the policies are going to be so we're able to prevent instead of deal with the disaster. Because Connie, you coming up with the fact that the challenges are that the child's sexual abuse and these abuses in their various forms, but of course the lousy one, the sexual thing, often occurs in private with no independent witnesses. I mean, what do you do here? You've got this two witness rule, which has been abused terribly. Yes, they've made some sort of adjustments on it, but it's very, very difficult to make investigation and prosecution. Just in JW side, we see it in Mormons, we see it in many institutions, all the way to top governance, and those are the persons pulling the strings. They don't want to change these policies. Why? Because if they slap one hand, it's going to slap everybody's hand who's in the same pot, so to speak.
Right. And a lot of times the pedophile is somebody that the child knows. Not always, but a lot of times. And in the Kingdom Hall, it's an elder or ministerial servant, circuit overseer, whatever. I mean, that lady right now that's JW was in Brazil. She has $100 million lawsuit against the circuit overseer.
When I was coming into the JWs in 1970, I was told by the person that I was studying the Bible with, he said, Dick, he said, if someone in the congregation is doing something that's seriously wrong, he said, like adultery or getting drunk or he said the Holy Spirit will be taken from the congregation. The elders would sense it right away, and they would have an investigation. They would find that evildoer, and they would disfellowship him. So, if Armageddon came, the whole congregation could go right into paradise earth. Well, the people that these elders who are supposed to do an investigation, a lot of them are super corrupt, and the cops are arresting these elders and other ministerial servants, just rank and file, for all kinds of stuff. We hear it all the time on 6 screens. It's in the newspaper, and they hide stuff. Boy, you go to the Kingdom Hall, you can't. When I was going to the Kingdom Hall in 1970, you could go grab a book that was produced by the Watchtower in 1923. You could get a book like that, but they're all gone, because if you were to read them, you would see all the changes they made, all the hypocrisy that they've done. And the reason I took them out is they're covering it up.
Yeah.
Because right now, the generations that are coming into the Watchtower right now, they don't know anything about 1975.
Oh, no.
It's only us guys.
Well, they don't know Beth Serene. They don't know anything about Russell Rutherford. They don't know any of that. There was a brother that wanted to say something. Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I was just going to say, hey, good to hear from you guys. It's Dan. Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think it's one of the most interesting shows in the world to watch. 5 million people. I don't know how many there are, 3 million, 5 million, I don't know. But just say there's 4 million. 4 million people being guided by unconscious immoral, amoral, could give a rat's ass about him. Just manipulate him. I think it's a show. It's a show for us. We're in the stands going, holy shit, what are they going to do next?
Mm-hmm.
And unconscious people will do anything. And like Constance says, they're capable of murder. They really are. Because low consciousness people have no moral compass.
Right.
And the greatest, sin of all, to me, is to do what they did with the Bible. Constance used a really good word, grooming. Mm-hmm. We were groomed by the Bible. They took something sacred and groomed us with it. And what I mean by that is they dangled the carrot. What do you do when you groom a kid, right? You offer them candy, you hear they offer them candy, and then they say, come over here. And then what do? Then you threaten them. And that's what they did with Scripture with us. Mm-hmm. That's why a lot of the people can't leave, because fear has been embedded in them so deep, they can't get out. And I know they want out, but they're terrified. Mm-hmm. And so to think somebody took something like that, the Bible, groomed us with Paradise Tomorrow, and then scared the shit out of us. Told us, held a gun to our head after that. Mm-hmm. I remember Tony's last words were, the blood's going to be pretty high if you don't get your asses back out in service. Mm-hmm. The blood's going to be pretty high. It might be yours. I mean, my God.
Yep.
How grotesque, how desperate. Yep. But I think it's interesting, to use the Bible in such a way. And I want to say this, and I say it on every show. The definition, the difference between good and evil is we have a life force, and we can do good or evil. We can take our life force and we can love with it, or we can manipulate and bullshit and mislead and scare the shit out of people. We can do whatever we want with it. So to watch Watchtower take their life force that God gave them, the gift of life, and to use it to manipulate, to, what was that word I used, groom?
Yeah.
To use the scriptures like they do, and then to manipulate, control, and now shake their asses upside down, all the people. I think there's a big money grab coming too. I really do. Mm-hmm. And but what's weird is my uncle mentions it. He does talk to me. My relatives kind of do talk to me a little bit, but he kind of brags that they're a brotherhood. He keeps using the word brotherhood, as if it's Masonic or something. He's like, we have the brotherhood. We take care of each other. But he brags how fast they can raise money. It's so weird. He goes, how fast we can raise money? And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, if we need money, all we'd have to do, he said, no, you add it up. And I forget what his number was, so many million people, $1. He says they could have that tomorrow, $9 million. So why would you run off those people? Why wouldn't you milk them dry? And so that's kind of what's happening. It's interesting to watch. It's not the greatest show on earth, but it's very interesting to sit back and think, my God, what the hell are they going to do next? What are they going to do next? I did hear a weird rumor online. I don't know if you guys heard it. Maybe it was nothing. But they said, have you guys heard that there was going to be like some fake Armageddon come out of Ramapo, some announcement or something? Did you guys hear anything like that?
No, I haven't heard that, but anything's possible, Dan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything's possible with amoral. Just remember, no moral compass. That's the most dangerous people on the earth, that have no morality to stop them, like you were talking about, the pedophile. It can be the same, whether it's what they're doing now, just, knowing the prophecies are false, not owning up to them, the whole thing, just continuing to manipulate. Anyway, just wanted to share that, guys. Thanks for the show.
Thank you, Dan. So great to hear you.
Dan.
Give our love to Angela, too, honey.
And speaking of Dan Clark.
I definitely will. She was listening. She was listening. We're all listening all the time. I just had surgery, so I'm just recovering.
We didn't know that.
But she's still listening in the other room.
Can we give you a call tomorrow, Dan? Can we touch base with you tomorrow on the phone?
Yeah.
Okay, honey. You definitely have been in our thoughts and prayers.
Sounds good.
Okay, honey. I was going to say, but
Watchtower. You guys. You guys are doing a good job. You're bringing some good stuff to everybody, and everybody's learning a lot. Everybody's waking up. And I want to say one more thing.
Yeah.
On TikTok, I don't know if you guys been on TikTok, but I swear every other channel, there's 50 people that are ex-witnesses that I've never seen. And they've got 50 people. They're interviewing them. It's like crazy.
Wow. Yeah, interesting, Dan.
It's bleeding out. It's bleeding out, guys. And you know, they're very awake. And I told them it's because a lot of yous weren't in. A lot of them don't know about the Generation Prophecy 75. Most of them that are on there are a lot younger.
Right.
But they're all just talking away. And we talked the other night for 2 hours on TikTok to a young group, and it was almost like telling them things they've never heard.
Wow.
So they weren't in that deep, so they're not able to hold them. They're coming out, but go on there sometimes. You will see, like, I'm telling you, hundreds of groups, and they're all talking, and the witnesses now, when they come on there, all they do is get mad. If you say, you know, like I went on one channel, and I said, can I come on? I'm an ex-witness. I'd like to tell you why I left. And they said, sure. And the first thing I mentioned was 1975 and the Generation, and they started cussing like hornets, like they do on Rick's show sometimes. They start cussing like you've never stopped, unplug me, shut me off. And they do that to everybody. They have no leg to stand on anymore. There's nothing there. It's just their own guilt. And I think that's why they're so mad. Yeah. Because when you take somebody that's in denial and you confront them with, hey, you might want to take a look at how much you're drinking.
Yeah.
Yes. Who are you talking to? Me?
Yep, that's so true, Dan. Oh yeah, the walls of denial go up so strong.
That's
like
a great point.
Jimmy Ray
Like,
Hart's song, "The Walls of Denial." Yeah, very.
All right. Well, we love you guys. All right.
Thank you, honey. We love you too. I was just going to say, but one thing Watchtower does do, they weaponize the Bible. They use it, they twist it and contort it to their version.
And they just change whatever they want to change.
Yeah.
They want to take a scripture not out of context, just completely out of the Bible.
Cherry pick, huh?
Well,
like cherry
they
pick.
take scripture like Matthew 8.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
They just take God right out of the Bible. I'm glad Dan Clark called because I remember about a year ago, Dan was saying to me, you know, you ought to suggest to Rick that he monetize 6 screens. So I mentioned it to Rick. He says, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't want to take money. You give free, you get free. But it's expensive, you know, doing 6 screens. I think it's $600-700 a month.
He's been doing it for 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's over $100,000 of his money.
Yeah, that's a lot.
People don't realize that.
People don't realize that.
And when he did the conference, that was
a lot of money.
$20,000 to $30,000 out of his pocket. You know, I think the audience should just tell Rick, why don't you monetize? You might make a couple $100, so it'll defray the cost of running 6 screens. I know, Rick, you weren't expecting me to say that, but
well,
I don't think you should take such a monetary beating every month that you take.
Well, not only that, but this is YouTube, and you know, YouTube is watching how many people are tuning in.
Right.
And YouTube is in the business of making money.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So when they see a lot of people who are, you know, watching the show, YouTube wants to make money.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is what it is.
And they push you out, and they push you out further. So
yeah, if you're monetized, because my YouTube channel is monetized.
What's that?
Go ahead.
Yeah, and it goes out. I mean, they really open a door to this channel could probably be 6 or 8 times the size, because there's how many channels on here? How many shows does Rick have right now? So if you put it out there, and you can take those commercials they put in, you can put them at the end. You can put 2 commercials at the end. You don't have to have them sprinkled all through where they're stopping every minute. You can say, I want this many commercials, put it at the end, and still it would cover also the cost of the show, but it would also put you out and expand this work that's going on.
So more people, you're saying, Dan, that more people would be able to learn about 6 screens, right? YouTube would filter it out to more and more people, is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly. And, you know, that's how when mine grew to, it was like 8,000 or something. I haven't been on in a long time. We did a video the other day, first time in a couple of years, but that's what pushed us out and just, you know, doubled it, just from 3,000 to 8,000, just putting some commercials on there. I didn't know that you could control the commercials. Because I had mine in the beginning, and people were like, "Oh, why do you have these commercials?" and blah blah blah. But it was like there was a couple months where you'd hit 1,000 or 1,500 or just from a video, one video that goes out that gets a few thousand views.
Yeah.
Like, witnesses wearing mustaches or beards or something, it would be, they'd pay $1,000. It would cover the show. But the main thing was most of the videos went out to 3, 4, 20,000, 30,000 people, which is a lot more than before when I put the commercials on that only had, a couple hundred views or a few thousand. It moves up into the thousands, hundreds of thousands.
Wow, that's
my YouTube channel does the same thing. I make about $1,000 a month off of my channel. I'm at like 8,600 ish. So, but yeah,
it's really nice. Covers all the costs. It's really beautiful. It's a win.
Yeah.
It's a win-win. It's a win for YouTube, and it's a win for you, and it's a win for all these witnesses that are out there searching for answers.
Yeah.
Well, to Dan's earlier point, it's kind of interesting that the JWs are really doing the Armageddon teaching with like the eternal paradise tomorrow that you guys talked about. I think culture today, especially in the West, is going to hurt them as well. Because I'm a millennial, I'm 37, right? So people in our late 30s, mid 30s, you know what our mentality is? I'm here for a good time, not for a long time.
Wow.
Right. So people younger than us are even more off the wall, right? But when you have that kind of cultural mentality in the West, someone comes up, says, hey, you could have paradise, and if you don't, you're going to burn. And everyone's just going to say, the world is burning now. We just want to party.
Oh, okay.
They can't connect with the younger people. And I think, and this is part of what another similarity I see with Mormonism is both Mormons and the JWs have really old people running the show who are just disconnected with reality, right? They're disconnected with what's going on. They're disconnected with the culture. They're disconnected with what young people are doing. And so when they show up in suits and ties and they preach, forget Jehovah's Witnesses. Young people today aren't even interested in religion from the get-go. Right? So that's also one factor that's one more nail in the coffin, I think, for the JWs and for the Mormons too.
Well, I want to thank everybody that called in tonight. Do we have time for just one more comment? Then we'll turn it back over to Rick. Anybody out there, love to have a first-time caller. If there's anybody out there that just wants to just say something about the Watchtower, about what they think the Watchtower is planning. Take one more call.
Hey, Dick.
Yes, please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
I love that you brought up Chris Hansen. I think I've seen the Pizza Predator video probably 5 times already.
Yeah. Sokol was his name,
and
remember?
he has the Boston accent too, which is extra entertaining.
Sokol. He was the pizza guy, Sokol. Oh, yeah. He walked in, wanted to give her a big hug. Yeah.
But what I was going to say about that is, like CSA, that's like the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
And I don't know how prevalent it is in the Watchtower or, of the congregations that were nearby me. That's the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
But, I go by the scripture, faithful in least, faithful in much. Everything that happens on a bigger scale, people exhibit it in a smaller scale. And even though that's the worst thing is to have disregard for a child and to abuse their trust and to ruin their life and all that, they do it on a smaller scale. I've told this story about the brother that, I went out to the movies with other, like a group date, or not even a date, a group of 4, and he made a federal case out of it. And then the girl didn't want to talk to me afterwards about it. I was a 16-year-old kid, He had no business doing that.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
follow. I don't follow
And,
that.
you know,
Well, you got counseled.
Oh, counseled. Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm.
and you know, and they don't care about your mental health at all.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of stuff that you miss out on being a witness.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you don't experience.
Right.
There's a lot of things they skip over or don't address at all.
Right.
And it all adds up. It all has a cost.
Right. Well, they create a lot of that mental illness, especially for people born in.
Yeah. You've always had the anxiety standing over your head. The Armageddon's going to come. It's going to be so bad that no flesh would survive unless the days were cut short. And that hangs over your head. It hanged over my head for 20 years when I was in. Thank God I don't have to worry about that anymore. No more nightmares about falling through the cracks of the earth, the fireballs coming down from heaven, or anything else. You know, God loves me and loves you, and He'll take care of you.
There's a young man, I just read his book, maybe, I don't know, a couple months ago. His name's Gabe Perot, and he had a head injury. He was on this, like a skateboard, whatever you call those things. And he accidentally, it was, anyway, and he was with his buddies and he went over this bump. They were having like a little race and he didn't wear a helmet and he flipped back and he had a massive head trauma on his head and his head became swollen. Anyway, he had a brain injury and he was dead for like 18 days. I mean, it was so severe.
Unconscious.
Yeah, it was so severe that, his parents were told by the doctors, there's nothing more we can do. Your son is not going to come back. And that's it. Anyway, he ended up going up to heaven and he talks about his experience about meeting Jesus and what it was like. And I'm telling you, the book was unbelievable. It was such a beautiful book. You'll see him on the internet. You can buy it on Amazon. Gabe Perot, P like Paul, Oirot, like Thomas. Anyway, he woke up and he wrote his experience and he said, Jesus is so loving. It is so beautiful in heaven. He said, it's unbelievable. He is not interested in organized religion. He just loves you so much. And so anyway, it's a beautiful read. If you want to read it, it will really build your faith. And anyway, he was able to, like a miraculous healing. He showed the x-rays. He talked about the doctors. Everything was fully documented. And he talked about how he was able to come back and have a normal life. There's no serious or severe brain trauma, anything. It's an absolute miracle. And anyway, he was able to get married. And now he has a little, I don't know if it's a little boy or girl, but anyway, the book, you can also buy it at Costco. And so the reason why I bring this up, I know there are some people, that are not Christians or whatever, but if you really want to open up your eyes, this is somebody, some people have passed away. The near-death experiences have only been like maybe a few hours, maybe 45 minutes, whatever. Okay. But this kid was 18 days up in heaven. And he talks about his experience meeting Jesus. And Jesus is so full of love. You just cannot believe it. The reason why I bring that up is because Watchtower just wants to terrify people and make everybody so fearful of Armageddon. He's such a evil God that's going to destroy you if you make, if you do something wrong or you're disfellowshipped. Anyway, I would really like to share that with people out of love. So that's why I say, like what Dan said, Watchtower misconstrues, but they, what's the word I'm trying to think? I said it earlier. Anyway, they twist. They literally twist the scriptures in a very diabolical way. And that's not who God is, what Watchtower teaches. Not at all. Not even close. Not even close.
Well, I guess that'll be a wrap. We thank everybody that called in. And
thank you.
Yep. Thank you for tuning in to the Connie and Dick Show. And we're thrilled to have Joe with us. We're going to have a segment, Ask an Elder. Joe will be coming over here. He's moved 4 or 5 miles from us, but he'll be here on Saturday nights, every other Saturday night, and
Give
you
people an
guys
opportunity.
can tap into that. He can tell you what it's really like being back in the dealing with the elders about judicial things and so forth. So I thank everybody, and
Thank
God
you.
bless, and take care. And Rick, it's all yours.
Well, Dick, I'm hitting the control panel. I'm seeing numbers. Our numbers here are going up. Your program is. I've got a number of computers going here. We got telephone lines. We've got YouTube, Facebook. But I have to tell you, I think this was a record-breaking night for the Connie, Dick, and Joe program. From what I can see, it's very difficult to know exactly how many are listening in live, but it looks like we went over 1,000 live listeners. So that's pretty good for YouTube. That's not counting Facebook. It's very difficult on Facebook to know. But we're looking at right at this point, it looks like over 1,000 have come in live. So that's a good thing. That's that's pretty good, because I'll tell you what, there's so many different channels, different television programs, and sporting events. But on a Saturday night, to get 1,000 people listening in live, that's a remarkable achievement. And thank you.
Well,
And
thank
what's so
you, Rick.
nice about this program is you get the real truth. Connie and Dick tell the real truth. Rick tells the real truth. So if you can put your trust in the Watchtower, you should really put your trust in what you heard tonight.
You got it, Susan.
Well, thank you, Sue. Hey, Rick, let me put you on the spot if you don't mind. Why don't you monetize?
Well, I'm really giving some serious thought to it right now. YouTube sent me an email the other day. Now, I'm sure it's not the people at YouTube themselves, but some type of an algorithm or whatever. I got a message from you to YouTube that they want me to continue to you have to get this AdSense account, and I had it when we first started 20. Well, actually, it was about back in 2009 when we first went on YouTube. Then I let it go, and I got onto Facebook. But I did get a message from YouTube the other day saying that they want me to get back in and monetize it, from what I can gather. So because, as Connie was just saying earlier, it's a money making. YouTube is a business. It's not a charity. So they make money. They make money on YouTube videos, and the more people watch, the more they make if there's commercials. But we don't have any. So in the future, maybe in the next month, you're going to see. But I'm not going to do it in the middle of a video, a live stream or whatever. We'll do it. We will do it in the beginning or maybe at the end, one or the other. But it will satisfy the powers at YouTube. Yep.
Yeah, it's
wonderful.
I know Dan Clark thought it was a good idea.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, and like I've always said, I never really asked for money on here, and it's I always felt that I came out of the Watchtower, and there were people that really helped me along the trail. Randy Waters, he used to have a website, Free Minds. Bill Bowen, and these original people that first came on. When I first came on YouTube, there was only 5 other people that were YouTube creators. And we were the first ex-Jehovah's Witness, not boasting here, but I'll give you some facts. We were the first ex-Jehovah's Witness to get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And, everyone's making a really big deal about it. I didn't really realize at the time that was kind of important, because it kind of broke the trail open for more and more people to come on and expose the Watchtower. So it's been a good trek. I can honestly tell you this. It's a lot different today than it was going back, in the beginning of this program. It's a lot different. It's like a night and day. So I want to thank all the people for listening in. Plus, we have a bunch of new programs starting up as well. We have a man coming on later on. He'll be on around 9:00 Eastern time. A young man got a program coming up. He's going to talk about it tonight, and he's going to share some things with us as well on some of the investigations right now that are going on in the Watchtower. So he'll be coming on at 9 tonight. So I encourage the audience to stay in, because you'll really get an awakening of what's happening behind the scenes.
Rick, thank you, honey. I just wanted, before you close this show, Joe wanted to ask Diamond Dave a question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Go for it.
I'm
What was the question?
What's your channel?
Oh, it's a gaming channel, but it's under my name.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Is that on Twitch, David? Diamond Dave?
Yeah, well, so that's my YouTube. I have a Twitch account, and that's for a different video game. And then my Facebook is a combination of gaming as well as my content creation social media business, right? So I work with YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, etc. regarding everything from marketing and branding, monetization, my banking experience for business consulting. So that's what my Facebook is, kind of an all-in-one.
Well,
but my
great.
YouTube is under the name.
No, let me ask you a question on Twitch. We have broadcast on Twitch. I know it's a gaming platform more than anything. Do you think it's worth continuing to stay on Twitch with a program like this?
I mean, yeah, simply because it's new. And one of the most popular features about Twitch is, even though it's predominantly gaming, there's a tag called just chatting, right? And that's what a lot of people will use when they talk about politics, religion, or if they just want to like have conversations with people. Usually they game, but not always. So that's a cool feature. And I mean, if you're already there, you might as well stay because it's free. It's an additional platform. And, you know, you can use Twitch to bring people to YouTube, or you can use Twitch as like another tentacle of Six Screens, right? To bring them to your website. So you got YouTube pushing to your website. You've got Facebook pushing your website. Twitch is free and it can be monetized. And now you have Twitch pushing to your website too. It may not get as big. But hey, I mean, if you could get one person to watch and leave, it's worth it, right? So might as well.
Well, what I find is we have the StreamYard platform now that we're on. And I got the premium StreamYard. We pay for that every month, but it allows us to actually broadcast on 10 different platforms. So we should be taking advantage of that. And we're really going to make some real big changes here at the Six Screens. My wife and I have been talking about it. I got some artists working along with us. So in the next month or so, you're going to see some big changes. Going to be on a number of platforms. So we're going to go big or go home, Diamond Dave. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way to do it. And I mean, if you're gonna, you know, I mean, StreamYard isn't bad. I use Streamlabs OBS, right? So I can also stream to 10 different channels, although it's like cheaper and works differently. But StreamYard is good. So yeah, take advantage of that.
Good. Well, thank you. Dan, did you want to say something, Dan?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Rick, it'll be interesting to see how much they push you out. YouTube's very powerful. And when you go into the monetization, they really push you out. This channel could go huge. And the other thing that was interesting, when I first monetized, and like I said, I haven't been on in a couple of years, but when I first monetized, they were like, they had like $3,000. All these people they monetized way back. I don't know if they still do that, but I didn't know how to hook it up to my bank, so they gave the money to the advertisers. But God knows what you know what I mean. But God knows what it'll end up being when they monetize thousands, or I don't know how many videos you have, but thousands of videos all at once. That could be like huge. So,
it's retroactive because it's retroactive because so what Dan was saying earlier is like you can manually choose where you want the ads to be. And I put them in the beginning because once you get all the ads out of the way, that's fine, right? So people see the ads and then they stay. But in the very beginning, even if you don't go through all of your videos, YouTube automatically adds those advertisements to all the videos. So you may not be choosing it, but YouTube just adds those ads for it. So it's all retroactive.
Well, very good. Well, listen, I'm going to take advantage of that. And in the next, you're going to see some big changes here at the 6 screens. Thank you, Diamond Dave, and thank you, Matthew, as well as Joe and Dick and Constance. And keep waving that flag of victory. We're all making progress. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. Whoa, stay tuned for JW World News. That's coming up next right here. Now, friends, that's the news the Watchtower doesn't want us talking about, but we'll be talking about it tonight. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere. Stay on this channel. Thank you very much.